Hi, welcome to Theoretical PE. I'm TS, and today we're going to be going over how to score bowling. I've got 5 different games that I'm going to go over quickly, and it should hopefully answer any questions you have about how to go about scoring a bowling game. Alright, so for the first game, we're going to do it really straightforward. Our player's name is Zero, and they are not a good bowler. And they're going to bowl 0 in every frame of the game, all 10 of them. So in this situation, they've thrown the ball 20 times, and they've got straight zeros. So this is pretty much the easiest way to score. So we end up with a total of 0. So easy to score, but really not a good day of bowling. Next we've got Hero. Now Hero is going to be our bowling champion, and they're going to score a perfect game, which in the 10-pin bowling that most of us are probably used to will be 300. So in that they'll score a strike every frame. And let me write in all these X's and I'll show you exactly how we're going to get to the final score of 300. Alright, so first we're going to talk about how strikes are scored. Now normally, in a frame, if it's any number between 0 and 9, that's the score that you get. If you knock down all 10 in 2 attempts, you'll get a spare, which I'll go over next. But with a strike, you get 10 points, and then you also add the next 2 balls that you throw. So I'll show you how we get to a 300. So we're adding the next 2 balls, remember, that we throw. So we got 10 points in this first frame because we got a strike. So we knocked down all 10 in one go. And the same thing happened in frames 1 through 9. So let me just show you. So in frame 1, we'll get 10 points here, plus 10 more because we're adding the next ball, plus 10 more because we added the second ball that we threw. So remember, we got the 10 points, and we're going to add the next ball, 10 more points, and the next ball. And that'll be 30 points. And that should be hopefully intuitive, because in bowling, we've got 10 frames. If a perfect score is 300, then it makes sense that you score 30 points a frame. So the same thing's going to happen with this strike. We're going to score independently of this one. So we've got 10 points, plus 10 for the first extra ball that we've thrown, plus 10 for the second ball. So we'll end up with 60. And one more time, we'll score this as its own frame. So we get 10 points, knock down all 10. Next ball, we also knock down 10. Next ball, so we're adding the next 2 balls, we got 10 again. So let me go through 90, 120, 150, 180, 210, 240, 270. And this is where it gets a little interesting. If you've ever gone bowling and you notice that on frame 10, occasionally someone will be asked to throw an extra ball, you'll see why. It's because of how we score it. Now, when we get 3 strikes in a row, it's typically called a turkey. But frame 10 is the worst frame to bowl 3 strikes in a row on, unless you're going for a perfect game. Because all these other strikes will be like kind of getting a multiplier. So like, look, for example, for the first 3 frames, if we ignore everything but the first 3 frames, we got 30 points for the first 3 strikes. But then we've also gotten 20 points just counting these 3 frames, and then 10 more points. So these 3 strikes are actually worth 60 points in total. While these last 3 will only ever be worth 30 points. Because we're adding, we got this first strike, and that causes us to be able to throw 2 more balls. But we don't get that same multiplier effect because we're only counting them once. So 10, 10, 10, 30 for that last frame. And that's how we get a 300 total. So similarly to the strike, we've got our spares. And I'm going to do 2 different spare scenarios. I'll do my good spares and my poor spares, because not all spares are created equally. So my first game, I'll do my good spares. So say we're doing awesome. We're knocking out 10 pins every time. Excuse me. So we're knocking out 9 pins the first throw, and then we knock out that last one, so we get a spare every frame. So 9 spare, 9 spare, 9 spare, 9 spare. I think it's just a little fast if I fill that like this. So bear with me. 9 spare, and we'll also get an extra throw here, because if you get a spare or a strike in the last frame, you'll get an extra throw or 2, depending on if it's spare or strike. Alright, so with strikes we added the next 2 balls. Spares, you only add the next ball. So in the first frame we've gotten 10 points because we knocked down all 10, plus we're adding the next ball. So that'd be 10 plus 9, so 19. And actually I have this written down to the side since I can't quickly add 19s in my head. But we've got the same thing over here. We're scoring this frame all by itself. So 10 plus 9 would be 38. 10 plus 9, 57. 10 plus the next ball, which would be 9. And so on. And you can let me know if my math is not correct, but I think it should be. And the same thing with this last frame. I'm going to get to 10 points, and we'll also add the next throw, so we'll still be getting 19 in that last frame like we have in all of our other frames. And that should make sense because we had 10 frames. We scored the same for each frame, 19 points. 10 times 19 is 190. So that's basically the best game that you could get if you are consistently getting spares every frame. Now, that's why that was the good spares game. The poor spares, I'm going to show you, is kind of the opposite. We only knock down 1 every time, the first ball, but then we get a spare. So it's alright, but nowhere near as good as doing it the opposite way, like we just did. And I'll show you why. 1 spare, 1 spare, 1 spare, 1 spare. Okay, so same thing. We'll be getting 10 for the frame because we knocked down all 10 pins. Plus we're going to add the next ball. So 10 plus the next ball is 1. So 11. So you can already see 10 plus the next ball. 10 plus the next ball is that instead of going up by 19s every time, we are going up only by 11s. So not nearly as good since we're trying to get the highest score we can. Same thing, 10 plus 1, the next ball, 1. 110 points. So a lot worse than our good spares gave, even though you'd think that more or less is the same thing, knocking down all 10 pins every frame. And it also makes sense because 11 is 8 less than 19. And if we do 8 times 10, which is how many frames there are, we are 80 short. Alright, and then we'll just do a regular old game TS, and we'll see how I do. So it's just going to be kind of random numbers. So yeah, 1 my first ball, 3 my second ball, so that'd be 4. I get 2 and 5, so that'd be 11. 8 and 1, that'd be 20. So pretty mediocre playing, but ooh, how about I get knocked down 2, but then I pull through and knock down all my pins. So that would be 10 points plus I'm gonna get my next ball. So I'm not gonna score this yet till I throw my next frame. So after I throw the first ball, oh man, whiffed it, 0. So I'm gonna go back 10 plus my next ball, oh, 0 points. So that's just gonna be 10. So I really didn't utilize that spare for all it was worth. So 8, so 38. But then I pick up some steam, I bowl a strike, and I'm going to move on to the next frame because I need to know the next 2 balls before I can figure out what my score is. Oh, nice, another strike. So I still can't add the frame number 6 until I know what this next ball is, the second ball I throw. And then, oh, I bowl 1, so then I'll get this 10 plus 10 plus 1, so 21, so that'll be 59, and I'll follow that one up with a spare. Alright, so now I can score this frame too, because I have the next 2 balls I threw, so 10 plus 1 plus 9, because the spare is representing that 9 pins I knocked down to get the spare. So that'd be 20 points. Okay, for this one, I gotta wait for my next ball. 3. Okay, so 10 plus 3, 13. Let's just do 2, 7. And then let's just do 8, 1, 6, and that's my total, 106. Now notice, there's 2 frames I didn't get to bowl my extra ball. In my 0 frame, because I didn't get a spare strike in frame 10, so I didn't get to throw the extra ball. I did it here. I got to throw 2 extras because I did the strike. Got to throw 1 extra because of the spare. 1 extra with the spare. No spare, no strike, so no extra balls. So yeah, that is how you score bowling. Hopefully that was enough scenarios to kind of get the grasp of it. And just remember, if you bowl a spare, you're going to add the next ball you throw to that frame with the spare. And if you bowl a strike, you add the next 2 balls you throw to the frame with the strike, with a maximum total of 300. Alright, thanks.